Historic landmarks? Maybe just a relaxing visit with family? Awesome. But before you even think about packing that first swimsuit or charging your camera, there's something absolutely crucial you need to know. Something that could be the difference between a smooth start to your adventure and a major, stress-inducing headache at airport security. Yep, I'm talking about your medications. Because guess what? The Transportation Security Administration, the TSA, has rolled out some brand new rules for traveling with medication in 2025, and ignoring them could mean your essential prescriptions get confiscated, leaving you in a real bind far from home. Don't panic. That's why you're here. In the next 10 or so minutes, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about these updated regulations. We'll cover what types of medications are affected, how to pack them correctly, what documentation you might need, and most importantly, how to breeze through security with your peace of mind intact. Trust me, you don't want to be that person held up at security, watching your flight take off without you because of a simple medication mistake. Stick with me, and I'll make sure you're in the know and ready to travel smart in 2025. All right, let's dive into the nitty-gritty. The first thing you need to understand is that these new TSA rules, effective May 1st, 2025, are designed to enhance security while still allowing passengers to travel with necessary medications. But there are some key changes you need to be aware of. Segment 1, defining what's affected. So, what kind of medications are we talking about? Well, the good news is that most prescription and over-the-counter medications are still allowed. However, the way you pack them and the documentation you might need has seen some updates, particularly for certain types of medications. For prescription medications, the general rule remains they are allowed. However, the TSA is now emphasizing the need for clear labeling. Make sure your medication is in its original pharmacy label container. This helps security officers quickly identify the medication. Now, this is where it gets a little more specific with the new rules. For liquid medications, think insulin, liquid antibiotics, eye drops. There are still exemptions to the standard 3-4-ounce, 100 milliliters rule. However, and this is crucial, the TSA is now recommending, and in some cases may require, that you inform a TSA officer about these liquids before screening begins. This proactive communication can significantly speed up your screening process. Don't just assume they'll see it in your bag. Let them know. For solid medications like pills and capsules, the rules are generally less stringent, but keeping them in their original labeled containers is still highly recommended. It avoids any potential questions or delays. And what about medical devices like inhalers, EpiPens, or CPAP machines? These are also permitted. However, the new guidelines emphasize the importance of having these items readily accessible for inspection and being prepared to explain their medical necessity to the TSA officer. Segment 2. Packing like a pro for a smooth security experience. Okay, now that we know what types of medications are involved, let's talk about how to pack them like a seasoned traveler who knows their stuff. This is where you can really minimize stress and breeze through security. Rule number 1, keep it labeled. I can't stress this enough. Original pharmacy labels are your best friend. They clearly identify the medication and the prescribing doctor, if applicable. Rule number 2, consider a separate clear bag. While not strictly required for all medications, placing your medications in a separate, clear zip-top bag can make the screening process much smoother. It allows TSA officers to easily identify them without having to rummage through your entire carry-on. Rule number 3, don't overpack. Only bring the medication you need for your trip, plus maybe a few extra days worth in case of unexpected delays. Bringing excessive amounts might raise questions. Rule number 4, know the rules for your destination. Remember, while the TSA rules govern what you can bring out of the country, your destination country might have its own regulations regarding medications. It's always a good idea to check the embassy or consulate website of your destination before you travel. Segment 3, documentation and special cases now. Let's talk about documentation. For most common medications in their original labeled containers, you likely won't need additional documentation. However, there are certain situations where it's highly recommended or even necessary. If your medication is not in its original container, for example, if you use a pill organizer, or if you have a larger quantity of liquid medication than typically allowed, it's a good idea to have a doctor's note or prescription. This note should clearly state the medication, the dosage, and that it is medically necessary for your travel. This is particularly important for injectable medications and larger quantities of liquids, while they are exempt from the 3-4-ounce rule. Having documentation can prevent any misunderstandings. Also, if you're traveling with controlled substances, even with a prescription, be extra diligent. Research the regulations of both the TSA and your destination country. You might need specific documentation or even prior authorization. Finally, remember that TSA officers have the final say on what is allowed through security. If they have any concerns, they may ask for further information or even deny passage of an item. Being polite, patient, and having your documentation ready will go a long way. Segment 4. Quick tips for a stress-free experience. Okay, we've covered a lot. Let's wrap up with some quick, actionable tips to ensure your journey through security is as smooth as possible when traveling with medication in 2025. Inform the TSA officer. If you have liquid medications